This week's episode of Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by Start New Company. Register your company immediately today with ASIC. ABN, TFN, GST registration is also available directly from the portal. Also set up your family trust and self-managed superannuation fund and more. All at startnewcompany.com.au. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/startnewco and keep an eye out for our regular specials. Start your new company now within 10 minutes of lodgement. All legal company documentation provided after registration. startnewcompany.com.au. And also brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au. All our servers are operating on SSD drives, immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, and more. Easy install WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and 300 other one-click installations. Generous space and bandwidth, auto backups, WordPress help and maintenance plans are also available on Contact. If your web page is important for your business or your life, contact us today. Aussie support, secure services, athwebhosting.com.au. And now for the show.
Welcome to episode 714 of the Aussie Tech Heads, recorded on 25th of February 2021. I'm your host, Jason Oakley, and this is my co-host, Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Hey, mate. How goes it?
2021, wasn't the 80s like 20 years ago or something? I'm sure it must have been.
Yeah, I think years have gone screwy.
Yeah.
They're all out of order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because aren't we in 1985?
Should be. That was a pretty good year, right?
According to George Orwell, we are.
It was 1984.
84, dang it. I had 85. I had 85 on the mind because I was just reading an article. Something about it.
What have I told you about reading?
I know, right? It's bad for my health.
Shouldn't do so much of it.
No, I was trying to think this article I'll read later, but it's got I'm reading and say, oh yeah, it's got that and that and that, and then there's this other one it doesn't have, and I'm racking my brain, and I'm trying to like talk at the same time, and it's just.
You can't talk and think. I can't talk and think at the same time.
I can hardly breathe and think at the same time.
Typical. How's stuff been? Good?
Bloody hot.
Bloody hot.
Stupid hot. We've had storms at randomly like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we've had, I think it was 40 something the other day, like 2 days ago, and 39 yesterday, and like 37 today, and then we had. I was looking at the weather station as I walked past the other day, and it was. When I got home, we had a cool breeze come through, and it was down to like 28 and like 25% humidity. And then at midnight, I got up and I walked past it, and it was 21 and 95% humidity.
You shouldn't leave the TV on all night and tune into the weather station.
And then like 5 minutes later, it just bucketed down rain, like absolutely pelted down. We got like an inch in like 5 minutes, and then it went away again. It's like, what? So,
we've had like rain nearly all the time lately. I don't know what's going on.
It's just so weird. I mean, I'm used to getting like storms. Summer storms of an afternoon are quite common. That's not unusual at all. But 3 o'clock in the morning is very unusual.
And then you laugh and think, this is Australia.
Well, it's not like Texas last week. They were copping,
that's a bit crazy.
minus 32 Fahrenheit, but so minus 0 Fahrenheit Celsius temperatures for 4 or 5 days in a row. It shut Texas down. I mean, they dip maybe into freezing 1 day a year, maybe, but yep. they were there for a week, and their infrastructure's not designed for that. They don't have snow plows. They don't have freeze-proof pipes. They don't have anything that's designed for that sort of infrastructure.
Power stations, everything's deregulated off the grid from the rest of the country.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of irrelevant anyway, because so many of the places, the power lines were physically torn down because of the ice hanging off them. So it's not the fact...
That's due to the windmills and solar do that. That's what happened in Australia.
Yeah.
We had blackouts in South Australia because they use green power.
Was it they had
Wouldn't have happened with coal? It transmits it through the airwaves.
It's wireless, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that happened in Queensland when they had the cyclones. You know, they lost power. It had nothing to do with the fact that the 150 k's of power lines were ripped out.
No.
But that was
Bloody
the thing.
windmills. Shouldn't it get better if it's a big storm? The windmills will be blowing faster.
Yeah, they get to a point, then they
Right.
explode. There's actually a couple of really interesting videos on YouTube where they actually, in that strong of a wind, that overpowers the braking system on them, and they literally just explode. They disintegrate. It's actually pretty cool to watch. But so it's been nuts. They've had record lows. We've had some pretty high temps and some weird weather and strong winds, and it's just all in all been weird. Been a weird week. It really
I've got
has.
the AC on, but I've also got a couple of graphics cards mining coin at the moment. So
Well, yeah, that
it's
makes
not
a
just the
difference.
weather here.
Well, it actually makes a difference. I've got my PC sort of on a ledge, just at head height. I've got the wall goes along there, and then I've got this little alcove that kicks out and then drops back in. I've got it mounted to the side of that alcove, so it's up off the floor, so it doesn't get full of dust. But the downside is the fans face directly at me.
So you got hot air blowing all.
So in winter, it's fine. It's nice. It's like a 40-degree breeze in winter. It's beautiful. In summer, it sends the room temperature from 31 to 37. It's ridiculous how much heat comes off that thing when you're mining. So, but
as you probably guessed by now, me and Will got back into doing some mining crypto stuff. He's got like $80 in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
about 50.
About a week and a half. It's not too bad.
Yep.
So,
and my
but
miner was turned on for like 4 hours today when we had a bit of extra sun, and then I switched it off again.
You'll overtake me pretty quickly though, because you mine at 3 times the speed I do. It's just that I mine continuously, and you only mine about 4 hours a day. So at the moment, I'm staying in front.
That's right. And for those special people down below, going across here.
Everybody we have is special. All our listeners are special. They wouldn't be listening to us if they weren't. And to the people in the chat, how we doing? Chat is coming alive, which is good to see.
Good chat.
And yes, of course. So we have our loyal listeners. Wow.
Long-time loyal listeners.
Yes, Bull. But we got Patreon is our biggest support base. We do have other ways of doing it as well. Some people remain anonymous. Some people don't mind the publicity. Some people probably don't know they're getting the publicity because they haven't clicked the anonymous button. Of course, so we've got our regulars. We've got Kate and Mount Singular Skull and Daniel and Amanda and David, Bird and Chris. And Andrew G's our lone PayPal, well not our lone, but our lone public PayPal subscriber. And we have someone who does direct bank transfer too, I believe, because I don't want to pay fees. So there you go.
Thanks to everybody.
It does. It helps. And we also do once a month a
Special Patreon
special pay-only show.
Random
Who still waiting for people to go and watch last week's show. It wasn't that bad, I promise. Go and watch it.
You did publish it, didn't you?
I did. I checked. I double-checked. For those who want the podcast, I ain't going to bloody go to all the trouble of making the podcast if you're not going to watch the video a couple of times. Because I can't trust you to listen to the podcast. And it's a lot of work to make a Patreon podcast, trust me.
Yeah. Even if it's a little shorty.
It's not the mixing of the episode, it's the effort. The 400 steps required to make it Patreon only is the thing. There's nobody's figured out a simple way of doing it yet. There's a complicated way and a slightly less complicated way, but there's no
You
easy
need to
way.
do some deal with YouTube to make it easy embed and.
Well, you could, because they do private videos, but for that to work, you would need to have it linked to Patreon so that it could see. Like, you'd need to have a common database somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. And admittedly, it's becoming a little bit more obvious as a content creator or content provider when you do try to provide services such as a podcast feed. there's big gaps in the chain. You know, there's some things that are very simple and easy and straightforward, and there's some stuff that you would assume is simple, easy, and straightforward, but actually is incredibly difficult to do. Like that, like just making a secure audio file. You can make a video file secure, but you can't do it with audio. Not to the extent of something you can have in a feed, like an RSS feed. If it was just an audio file, yeah, I could throw that up and you could download it, but that's kind of not the point of a podcast. You want it to
set
come
up
to
an
you.
RSS feed with a private thing. Somebody just shares the link with their friends, and suddenly everyone's listening without.
That's right. It's got to be a verifiable link, which means it has to process a verified database every time it gets released and every time you access it. Which is not to say that somebody, if they really wanted to, wouldn't just put the show on a different platform anyway, and because it's not exactly hard to copy an MP3, but it's sort of a bit of a trust system going on there.
Or capture a video.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, how far do you try to... And
we should check BitTorrent. Maybe we're a big hit there.
We're not a big hit anywhere else, so... it's one of those things. Like, how far do you go to secure your feed? Like, do you just work on the
honor system
and assume that most of the people are going to do the right thing, and the couple of people who aren't going to make that much of a difference anyway?
Yeah, probably
like,
in the end.
With the Diode magazine that I get, the first 12 months they came out, they had the subscription is $10 a month, and I get a physical magazine, and I get an online version of the magazine. So what was happening was, after the online version was released, people were sharing that on file sharing networks and on various websites and releasing the PDFs and everything that we were paying for effectively.
Yeah.
So what they did was, okay, fine. Everything that's online is free. You're not paying to have an online membership. That's all free. We obviously can't control it, so we'll just stop people from needing to steal it by providing it a free service. The only difference is, if it's free, you get, like, in the file, every like fourth or fifth page, you get an ad. And if it's not free, you don't. Like, if you're a paid member, you don't get ads on it, and you still get the magazine. So that's how they sort of sidestepped around that problem.
Yep.
And if you are into amateur electronics, I do strongly suggest you check out It's called Diode, but it's DIYODE.
I thought you were saying it's a diet
Diode
magazine, and I was like, why are you subscribing to a diet magazine?
Why shouldn't I?
Then you start talking about diode. Oh, diode.
Dumbass. Not that I don't need that anyway. If anybody's got any good tips on that, let me know. I'm all for that.
I think they did that on Family Guy. Isn't it more cocaine or something?
Yeah, that's it.
That was on Archer anyway. Pam got hot because she was addicted to cocaine.
That'll do it. So, yeah.
Apparently, the cocaine use in Sydney has been dropping down during the pandemic, so they've all shifted it to Canberra. I wonder who's buying cocaine in Canberra these days. That was in the news today.
Yeah, actually, I saw that. It's funny. I was watching on YouTube, Steve-O. He used to be known from Jackass, but he did a few other things as well. He's got a YouTube channel now, and he goes through and he puts up a lot of the stuff that he did in his past, and releases videos to show you what drugs do and what's it like when you're on them and stuff like that. And he talks about all the stuff he was on, acid and PCP and nitrous oxide and all this stuff that he was doing. And he's like, but I can't remember which one he said. It was either heroin or cocaine. I think it was cocaine. And he's like, but no, I never touch that stuff. I don't know what's in it. You can't trust that stuff. I'm like, dude, you
don't trust any of it.
You're doing like all this other stuff. You're doing like, paint thinner and LSD and all this other stuff that's made in someone's backyard, but you won't touch a pharmaceutical grade. And it's like, okay.
No more Sudafed for you. Should we do some news?
Oh, why not? It's a nice night.
The Victorian government will trial the use of roving autonomous security bots in its hotel quarantine program in the wake of several infection control breaches over the past 8 months. So that's fantastic news, isn't it? The more surveillance from the government. The agency leading the state's quarantine program, COVID-19 Quarantine Victoria, will undertake the pilot in coming weeks to strengthen CCTV surveillance in the hotels. We understand that a 5-foot cone-shaped robot from US-based physical security service provider Cobalt Robotics will initially be piloted, fitted with a 360-degree camera and selection of thermal, depth, and ultrasonic sensors. The robot will augment existing arrangements by conducting roving patrols. The robot will be supplied by Victorian-based security company Monjon, which first approached the government last year. We presented in September last year, and more recently have come back to us on the basis that CCTV that they hadn't put in, they're now looking at again. The CEO said the robots were previously using last year's US Open as part of hotel quarantine arrangement for tennis championships. Monjon actually put on a couple of robots in the US Open in September for the players and admin staff. It checked a number of things, wearing PPE, wearing the appropriate badging, and trips and falls hazards. The robot trial is one of several options being considered by the COVID team to boost CCTV surveillance.
You could have just...
That'll fix it.
You know what would have solved it? Just read the first, 2 lines of that again where they said they're just bringing in a 3-foot cone. I mean,
Dude!
that'd just solve everybody's problem. No more problems.
No one would leave their room if they had one of them.
There's a guy I was watching, I don't know where it was. It must have been some Mardi Gras or some parade somewhere. And he has a leaf blower. And he's got this giant bag of weed hooked up to the intake side of the leaf blower. And he starts the leaf blower up and lights the bottom of the thing and just fires up into the air. And there's 100 metres, like a football field size cloud just going across the... Oh, it was great.
Everybody had a good time that day.
and
next all the
day,
food vans sold out. Man, I'm getting the munchies.
So I love it in the Scooby-Doo movies where they're in the back of the van and there's smoke pouring out the top. It's funny because on the health.gov.au website they've just announced that they're currently engaged in the world's largest clinical trial, the largest global vaccination trial ever. So there you go.
You see what they did in Queensland, injected to elderly people with 4 times the dose of the vaccine?
And that was a cover-up because they had to come up with some excuse that they... Well, okay, so either it happened and the nurse is incompetent because they're not allowing competent people to do it because competent people wouldn't be doing it in the first place, or they screwed up and they got really sick and they wanted to say it's because they over-injected them rather than it's just a side effect of putting toxic chemicals in your body. So either way, they're incompetent.
It's not good.
It doesn't. Whichever way, there's no positive spin on that. It's either they're incompetent because they're incompetent people who are doing it, or they're incompetent and they're just trying to cover it up. There's no intermediate area in there.
There's no way you just spin this to look good.
No, you can look bad or you can look worse, but that's
it.
that's going to happen,
Wasn't that a Michael Jackson thing?
Bad or worse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the album Bad, and then Weird Al brought out Even Worse.
Even worse. Yeah, I was trying to think what that was called, yeah. Yeah. I haven't heard that for ages. I think I've got that somewhere. That reminds me, I have to go hunting for my Weird Al stuff. I was trying to find my my 12th Man stuff the other day. Oh, I can't find it. I don't know what I've done with it.
A great crowd, those Victorians.
Mine were...
Got him, yes, piss off your out.
Back in the good old days when you could get the old high-speed to high-speed tape copy going on. You copy a 40-minute tape in 10 minutes. It was great.
My cousin had it. He loved it.
So,
played it on midnight to dawn on the radio when I was a teenager.
It's alright, no one's listening anyway.
Well, we found it was the uncensored version, so we told people if you don't like that kind of thing, switch off. But then we found out that the local hospital was using it as the main channel for all the patients' radio stations. So they are listening to us, tired as hell, talking crap and playing whatever.
Probably had a good laugh.
Stick on. Here's the Wired World of Sports. It goes for an hour. We're going to take a nap and come back. See ya.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. They probably enjoyed themselves. Probably the best laugh they've had for a while.
I reckon. It's the best medicine.
That's it. It's like when they discovered that Full Monty was one of their largest target audiences was retirement villages.
Yeah, they loved it.
they're looking at someone was going through all the sales figures, and like retirement villages and old pensioner places and like that sort of stuff were the biggest buyers of the DVDs.
Those dirty old folk.
So, but you got to watch the old people. They're sneaky. I tell you, a friend of mine was telling me he used to work at Super Cheap, and they had the Maguire's car care buckets you could buy like for Father's Day, and they'd have like a sponge and a chamois, and they'd have like polish and car wash and all these different things in there, and they'd like people would buy them for their granddads or whatever who obviously never bothered to really use them, but they'd get them back and they sort of didn't worry about it for a while, but then somebody would return them and they're like, this is faulty or defective, and they're like, what do you mean? They're like, there's a brand new, and they're like, hang on, no, these are the ones that were returned by the old folk, and they're looking at them, and the sponges had been like cut in half like widthways, and the chamois had been like cut in half and returned, and like the polishes and the waxes and stuff like that, it all had like some used and then topped up with like shampoo and stuff.
Oh, right, jeez.
No, the old fogies are the ones you got to watch. It's like the whole, drink the whiskey and fill it with weak tea deal in the minibar.
I remember seeing a tweet some girl had put on there, said, my parents decided to celebrate my 21st birthday by giving me the 1 litre bottle of vodka that had been hidden under the kitchen sink, not knowing that I've slowly replaced it with water over the last 3 years.
Yep.
Yay, thanks.
Thanks, man. We did my exes back when I first met her. We had a big party at their place. Their parents had gone overseas. And they had a big, can't really call them, the big 4 litre Johnny Walker, but they're in a cradle, a big cradle and the whole cradle tips. Yeah, well, over like the 2-day party we went through the entire bottle of Johnny and then filled it up with weak tea and put the lid back on it and remelted the wax seal. And like when I split up with her a couple of years later, it was still sitting in the corner like it had never been touched. So I don't know how long that's going to go on for.
Kind of like when Bernard Black in Black Books drank the expensive $4,000 bottle of wine and then tried to recreate it himself and hide it back in the packet.
I will give you one tip though. If you ever go to a nightclub and you see the tequila bottle, you know how they have the bottles in the premix stations now? Yeah. If you ever see the tequila bottle glowing blue under the UV light, it means that they've been watering it down. Tequila itself won't glow blue. Once you mix tequila with water, it's UV reactive and will glow blue. So your drink often will glow blue because it's got water in the Coke or whatever you get it mixed with. But yeah, if you see the bottle up on the rack glowing blue, it means there's water in there. That's how we caught one of our staff one day. Oh dear. Anyway, speaking of parties, happy birthday, Thunderbolt.
Yay, happy birthday.
Thunderbolt is 10 years old today. And my, how it's grown up.
Happy birthday.
Remember version 1 of Thunderbolt? We heard rumours of the new port coming to the MacBook Pro based on Intel's Light Peak concept. The new Thunderbolt-equipped MacBook Pros were unveiled in February 2011, sporting a port that was based on a mini display port that had 2 channels in each, capable of 10 gigabits a second, and allowed up to 6 devices to be daisy-chained. Apple initially registered the Thunderbolt trademark, but this was passed Intel a few months later. Fast forward to today, and Thunderbolt has become Thunderbolt 4. It's like a sequel.
You're saying the Apple products are Thunderbolt and Lightning. Very, very frightening. Galileo.
The port has changed from mini display port to the now ubiquitous reversible USB-C single port that supports not only the Thunderbolt protocol but also the USB and DisplayPort and PCIe.
And power.
Speeds have now also increased to a whopping 40 gigabit per second. To celebrate 10 years of Thunderbolt, they were doing like a trip down memory lane sort of deal.
Yep.
And when it was first released at the time, they were calling it a niche interface and didn't expect it to take off. So, and of course, over time it's got more and more. The one thing that I find funny though is every time they introduce the technology, they delete the technology.
Yeah.
So they had.
Where's my floppy drive gone?
Well, they had SCSI.
Yep.
And then they got rid of SCSI once they introduced. This is 1394 Firewire.
Yep.
Firewire was the replacement for SCSI, and then Firewire just started to take off, and they ditched Firewire because Thunderbolt came around. It's like, because I actually had I don't know if I still do somewhere. I actually had a Handycam that was 1394. And
isn't it funny how a tech person remembers 1394 but not Firewire?
Yeah, I know, right?
Which is the easiest one to remember.
But yeah, so I had that, and I remember because I had the PC, I had to buy an adapter card because no PCs were coming out with Firewire. It was a Mac thing, so I had to buy an adapter card to use it on my PC. Have massive compatibility issues, but I had it because it was nice video quality. And then just when I got it all figured out, they went, "Oh, we're not supporting that anymore. It's gone. Here, have Thunderbolt." I'm like, okay. Mind you, here I am still with my my 16 drive SCSI RAID card that I was using as a server. I think I had 16 or 12, might have been 12, like 8 gig SCSI 2 or SCSI 3.
I've never had a
hard drives.
SCSI anything in my life.
Oh, really? Oh, I've still got some down the shed, actually. I've still got I actually pulled the daisy chain out the other day. There's still daisy chain. There's nothing. They're not connected to anything, but there's like 8 drives there still a daisy chain together with a SCSI cable. And it was the old school flat, like 40, it was 82 pin or something. It was double IDE. So there's this ribbon cable about this long and about this wide, and there's all these devices that daisy chained. And unlike IDE, it didn't have device limitations. You ran out of alphabet before you ran out of drives.
Yeah. Since we're on the Macs, a previously undetected piece of malware found on almost 30,000 Macs worldwide is generating intrigue in security circles, which are still trying to understand precisely what it does and what purpose its self-destruct capability serves. Once an hour, infected Macs check a control server to see if there are any new commands the malware should run or binaries to execute. So far, however, researchers have yet to observe delivery of any payload on any of the infected 30,000 machines, leaving the malware's ultimate goal unknown. The lack of a final payload suggests the malware may spring into action once an unknown condition is met. Also curious, the malware comes with a mechanism to completely remove itself, a capability that's typically reserved for high stealth operations. So far, though, there are no signs the self-destruct feature has been used, raising question why the mechanism exists. Because those questions, the malware is notable for a version that runs natively on the M1 chip that Apple introduced in November, making it the only second known piece of Mac OS malware to do so. The malware has been found in 153 countries, with detections concentrated in the US, UK, Canada, France, and Germany. So not even Apple's safe anymore, especially since the M1's only just come out.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's not like it's been around for a while. I mean, it's not like these just random viruses that do nothing and attack stuff and
throw in the rabbit.
No. Yes, Pen. I'll tell her. No, Pen. Do you like Pen?
Yep.
And it's not like they have, just random viruses that do stuff without telling anybody what they're going to do, and
you see the one in Archer?
Yeah.
With the pirate with a parrot?
Yep. Yes. There's actually been some really, really crappy, but at the same time remarkably good attempts at conveying what a hack looks like.
Yeah.
You know, like
3D spinning around fractals and stuff.
Well, the other one I can think of is that what's the one? John Travolta, the bank heist one with the bus.
Swordfish.
Yeah. There's another example of it. You know, like it's just they can't. Movie producers can't sort of get the concept that a hack is incredibly boring and it's.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
I
did
know.
okay on the Matrix.
Yeah.
They used actual tools and showed the output and everything, and everybody liked that.
Yeah. I mean, they do it with some of the shows. I can't think of the name of it. I can't think of the cyber show I was watching, but I showed you a clip for it a couple of weeks ago with the chick and whatever. And they kind of do all right in that. But yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a very boring thing to show, but like, let's just have like projectors shining in people's faces with the reflection of their screen that they're never going to get ever in their entire life. You know, like.
And in their eyeballs, sometimes the eyeballs have got code.
So
I can see the code. You're the chosen one.
Yes, but yeah, for some reason that story just reminded me of that. Like they're saying it's a. They don't know what it does. They don't know what its termination is. They don't know what it's about. And I'm like, well, go and give it to a set of hackers and let them figure out what the difference is. Like, that's what happened.
Well, from
with,
previous experience, I think it's just going to draw some fractals in 3D rotating around the screen. I mean,
exactly.
That means your computer's hacked.
Yeah, or it could do the Then you know what they need to bring back? They need to bring back the coffee cup hack, the coffee holder hack.
Where it pops it open.
Although I don't know if it will work anymore because I don't know if enough computers have CD drives anymore for it to work.
Probably not.
Just spits out the USB ports.
Spits out the super glue that the tech admin in the company did so you wouldn't plug your iPhone and stuff into it.
Oh, we did have that at the uni. They apparently their tech guy didn't understand that computers had USB ports in the back as well. Yeah. So they blocked the two off in the front. Yeah. So you just reach around the back and find one of the 8 ports in the back.
They'll never see those.
They're just spares. They don't really work.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Speaking of hardware, and I guess hacking. Well, I guess technically it is hacking to a degree. Nvidia expects crypto mining chip to bring in 50 million in Q1.
Yeah,
so,
I'll buy one. How much is it?
What we're talking about earlier was obviously, using your PC to mine. And whilst it does do it, and even the high-end video cards will have some fair amount of speed about it, it's still not the preferred method of doing it because you're still using a whole bunch of extra hardware that you need. You're running monitors and you're running full-blown systems and motherboards and all this memory and all this other stuff that you don't really need in order to be doing crypto mining, which in a sense is really like hacking because that's effectively what you're doing. You're given a random amount of numbers and letters and the computer generates that into a usable key that it needs to unlock a coin. That's effectively a hack. Low security, but still a hack. But NVIDIA recently announced a crypto mining processor, which they're calling a CP, should bring around 50 million in revenue to the first quarter. They shared their expectations of the new product in a conference. They're saying that the crypto mining contributed 100 million to the 300, between 100 million and 300 million to its gaming segment in Q4. Because I don't know why they're linking the two, but anyway, they're separate markets. I don't know why they're using the crypto mining to boost their gaming section, but anyway. But they're saying the company can't accurately track or quantify the end use of gaming CPUs since they're sold to graphics card manufacturers and then on to distribution, etc., etc. But the rise in cryptocurrency mining has led to chip shortage for gaming, which NVIDIA hopes to alleviate with their new CP. The new chips will start shipping in March. NVIDIA plans to sell directly to industrial miners, of course. Cryptocurrencies have recently started to be accepted by companies and financial institutions, as we were talking about last week. They're becoming more of a physical asset now. Hence, the mining has stepped up for that. Now, depending on which website you read, you get vastly different prices.
Probably just like a 3060 GTX card with no HDMI ports.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're saying, okay, for example, one of the cards So combine the Ethereum hash rate. If you go for the 90HX card, which is going to be their top of the range, we'll do about 86 mega hashes.
Yeah.
Using about 320 watts.
That's pretty close to what I'm
and
doing now.
It's got a 10 gig memory on the card, but see, it doesn't have a video output, so there's no. It's just a dedicated mining card. Like it doesn't output to a display, so because it doesn't need to. But that's the thing is though, it's using a lot. It's only using about 320 watts. Your card to do the same thing's using like 600 watts, so it's using twice as much power to do the same. Let's do the same job. And once again, these figures change remarkably depending on who you look at. But basically, they're saying that they could be anywhere from, if you go for the what they're calling the entry level card, which is their 30HX. I've seen reports anywhere from like $600 to $1,100 AU. And the 90 I've seen anywhere from 900 to like 1,500. So, but then again, having said that, the 3060s, what are they now? $800, $700 or something?
Yeah, well, they're getting up to nearly 1,000 now because everything's so much
Wow.
shortage. You can't get 3060s in Australia. I looked.
I mean, but that's
I had to go to a 3070.
That's artificially inflated. But I mean, a normal retail on those is what, $700 or something.
Yeah.
So these are going to be, given they don't have the graphics output side of it, and they're not driver dependent, so they're not going to have the same compatibility. So it's probably going to leave them a bit easier and a bit cheaper to manufacture. Their entry level card, I would imagine, would be the same as the 3060, and then their cards are going to go up from there. But basically, they estimate that even the base the 30HX should be about 50% more efficient hash rate versus power usage than the 3060.
Yeah.
So, which probably puts it about a 3070, but 3070 would use more power.
Yeah.
So,
my 3070 is doing 134 watts of power. And my 1070 Ti is 153 watts.
Yeah. What's your hash?
89.99.
89. So, yeah. So the single 90HX would do that. It'll do 90 or 88, 89. So it'll do 90 on 300 watts. So, yeah.
Mine's doing 287 watts at the moment, but then you've also,
But yours is reduced at the moment because you're using it for other things as well. So it's probably not doing it full capacity. Plus two, these obviously will be cooler. They'll run cooler, and they've got 10 gig of memory, so they'll be able to take bigger files as well, which means that.
At the moment, the hash is only about 4 gigs, so even if you've got 10 gig, you'll still have 6 free, but the hash will probably grow.
But yeah, exactly. It future-proofs the card a bit more as well. It also means that you do have overhead for doing,
Well, there'll be new algorithms and new coins come out in the future that's probably going to need it.
That's right, exactly. Well, I mean, that's Ethereum. See, Bitcoin mine is entirely different to a Ethereum mine as well. Yeah. So, it would allow you to do, because I think last I checked, I think the Bitcoin algorithm is like 6 gig. So you probably need that 10 gig card to do that.
You have to have an ASIC for that.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is,
my ASIC does 14 terahashes a second.
Yeah, but only on certain.
Only on Bitcoin and other SHA-256 coins.
And about a 14 terahash on a Bitcoin is nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all. Whereas we're doing 90 at the moment.
Yeah, on Ethereum. 90 on Ethereum is 10 times more than a terahash on Bitcoin. So
yeah, that's because all the ASICs push the difficulty up.
And this is the thing that I can see is going to happen once they do eventually. Once they do eventually become a popular replacement option, which it no doubt will, because I mean, if you've got the choice of going for a dedicated card or a graphics card that's going to do an okay job but not quite the same, you're going to go for the dedicated card, aren't you?
Yeah. We're going to gimp the 3060s. Any 3060s they sell from now on, the firmware is going to be gimped, and as soon as it detects that it's calculating hashes for crypto coin. It's going to slow the power down to about half, so it's not worthwhile having.
Yeah, but I mean, even that aside, like it's going to have the same in 12 months or 2 years' time. Like the graphics card that both you and I have now that are doing fairly reasonable are just not, because
Yeah.
we're going to have the same problem with Ethereum that we faced with Bitcoin. It's going to get to the point where the hash rate has to be insanely high that only the massive conglomerates that are doing it are going to be able to do it.
Yeah, a lot of people got mining farms set up. 80 computers with like 10 graphics cards in each one, and all running off solar. And
Well, there's a guy I was watching who's using it's not the Raspberry Pis. I think it's either the Banana Pis or it's one of the variants of that. And he's got like 4,000 of them or something in this giant block.
holy crap!
And yeah, they're basically emulating like 100 of these graphics, 100 of these ant miners or something, and they're using like a tenth of the power. So
To set up like a Beowulf cluster or something to share
like,
all
yeah.
the.
I mean, it's over my.
computations.
I found it really interesting. It was slightly over my head. I didn't understand the whole thing he was doing, but
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to see that you take he's taking computers that are literally that big,
That big. Yeah.
and he's turning those into miners. You know, like it's.
And they'd use a fraction of the electricity too.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, you can run one of these off 5 volts, 2 amps.
Yep.
So, you know, the only thing in your computer that's going to even come close to that's probably a fan. So, a lot of those probably takes a couple of dozen of those to use even remotely what a normal PC would use.
Yep.
So, they're pretty efficient.
Spotify is going hi-fi. Well, hi-fi. It's taken longer than competitors like Tidal and Amazon Music, but today the leading subscription music service announced a new lossless streaming tier that would allow listeners to get the most from their digital music library. The news came at the company's Spotify Stream On virtual event. Spotify Hi-Fi will be available later this year and will deliver music in CD quality lossless audio format to your device and Spotify Connect enabled speakers, which means fans will be able to experience more depth and clarity while enjoying their favorite tracks. Spotify has done small tests of higher quality streaming in the past, but now it's going to launch the feature more widely with the caveat it'll only be available in select markets. Pricing is yet to be announced.
Not in Australia, then.
Hey?
Not in Australia, then.
A lot of people use us for testing grounds, particularly programmers, and release new updates for iPhone and their games and stuff for iPhone and Android. Start in Australia, New Zealand, and if it goes well there and works fine, then they release to everyone else. Higher quality streaming has apparently been among the top requests from its customers. As it stands today, Spotify tops out at 320 kilobits a second audio.
Yeah, I was just trying to find out what the new rate's going to be. 320 is their current, but they haven't said. They've just said CD quality, but that doesn't help because CD quality can be 320 as well. Like,
yeah,
lossless, you were talking like a raw file. A song in a raw file can be 6 or 7 gig.
Well, that's at least flack. Something like
so it's not going to be true lossless. They're kind of taking a bit of artistic licensing with their wording.
Lossless. Mostly lossless, like
but
the Earth is mostly harmless.
Yeah. It's like FLAC, but even FLAC's not... I mean, I'm trying to just look up what the rate of FLAC is. I don't think it's not too bad. But yeah, it's just going to have to be people who are using it are going to have to be wary, especially if they're using it on mobile data.
And a lot of Australians won't be able to even use it at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of it.
ADSL 1.
That's why I was kind of curious. Because CD quality technically is 20 times higher. 29 times, 30 times higher. 1,411 kilobits a second. So technically that means it uses, if they're talking true CD quality, means they're going to be using 30 times more data.
Yep.
So the 1,001, so they're going to be using a megasecond.
Sign up to Aussie Broadband and get unlimited.
So if you're on a mobile device, you may just want to be careful because at a megasecond, so an average, 60 meg a minute, so an average song for 5 minutes, you're looking at 300 meg. So if you're only on you're on a 1 gig plan, you've only got 3 songs. You better enjoy them. So
I can listen to 3 songs a day.
remember when that was like literally a thing? Like I remember back when my dial-up, my 14.4 and 28.8, I could download a 1.4 meg floppy in like 50 minutes.
Yep.
And I remember that because our uni servers had a 50-minute boot off time, and we broke Quake down into 25 1.4 meg files so that we could log on 25 times and download one section, and you put them onto a floppy disk and have 25 discs of Quake.
That's when Ra and Arj became really popular, didn't they?
No, that was actually, I think it was even before. Probably Arj, yeah. I can't remember how we split them up, but yeah, I remember that was the parameter of having...
Where's WinArj when you need it?
Yeah, I remember that was
Arj.
the parameters for figuring out what size files it was. It was how many, and we worked out because one of the guys who owned the computer store that I was working for at the time was the IT manager for the university. And we said, okay, how long does it take to download a floppy disk worth of data?
Yeah.
And we go, we can do it in 50 minutes. He said, okay, I'll set the timer out to 55.
Get just enough.
Enough time to get in, grab what you need, and as the finished downloads, you get booted off.
Yeah.
So that's how I remember how long it took to do a floppy disk. Oh dear, those are the good old days.
Yeah.
Okay, Facebook, who has been blocking media ads for the last couple of weeks. The Senate on Wednesday agreed to the Treasury Law's amendment that was put forward by Facebook and a few other ones, giving effect to the media bargaining that saw Facebook pull news from Australia before it promised to restore it, thanks to amendments put forward. As a result of the amendments to the media bargaining code receiving bipartisan support and officially passing both houses on Thursday, Facebook said it looked forward to agreeing to the new deals with publishers. So this was...
You're going to get more Murdoch news on Facebook again?
Well, probably. But I didn't mind not having stuff in my feed for the last couple of weeks, honestly.
Right. Right.
But, so here's the thing. Facebook said, we want to make some amendments. The government went, no, we're not interested. So Facebook said, okay, see ya. The government said, hey, you can't do that. You better come back. Facebook went, no. Then the government went, hey, look, we've got these amendments that we think you'd like. And Facebook went, fine.
All right, then. Twist my arm, why don't you?
So basically, the government realised that, they are in all sorts of trouble when Facebook doesn't. The amount of lost revenue, that doesn't have it in this article, I did read somewhere that somebody worked out the lost revenue that the media outlets lost in that 2 weeks or whatever it was that they weren't
down a
putting
minimum
ads.
of 15%, maybe more.
Well, some estimates are saying it was about $400 million.
Yep.
The news that between them all, the news mobs.
We did our little trial canary in the mine test, and now we've decided we don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, we decided we're going to work with them instead of trying to piss them off. Yeah. So it's so
apparently Jeff Jarvis had a really good rant about it. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
How much the Australian government sucks trying to force Facebook to give money to Murdoch.
Just how dumb they are. Yeah. So I won't go through all the details of it, but basically, the short version of it is that Facebook was like, well, no, because currently under the way it's written, we effectively are going to be liable for untold infinite amounts of money because there's no cap on how much we could incur.
Yeah.
And so basically they put a cap on it now at, some money behind the couch figure, just to keep everybody happy. So That's a short version of what happened.
Problem solved.
Yeah, I think it went from something like they said they've only got to pay for like the first 5 billion referrals or something, which sounds like a lot, but when you work out the amount of people times the amount of traffic times the amount of posts every day, it's actually not that big of a number.
Yeah.
They said after they hit that 5 billion number, they don't have to pay for it or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something
Now
like that.
everybody happy.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, that's kind of the amendment that Google and Twitter and all those guys were going for as well. So they've kind of all come to an agreement, and they've all agreed the Australian government sucks, and the Australian government's officially agreed that it kind of sucks, but if we do it this way, we just suck a bit less.
Back down.
They've retreated without retreating.
Yeah.
They retreated by just letting people push them backwards a bit.
Yeah. We're advancing in the negative direction.
Yeah. We're advancing by going that way. We just need just around that corner and down the hill a bit and around there, and we'll meet you down the road at the servo.
Don't tell anyone. That's it for me. How about you?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've got a couple of things, but nothing. It's honestly been a relatively slow news week this week.
Yeah. So news week. Someone dropped the bomb somewhere, contaminating atmosphere.
So, is that still back, or they only come back for like 2 shows and then ditched it again?
I think I don't know. I don't watch.
I know
live to air TV.
I know Good News Week. They went, hey everybody, Good News Week's coming back, except it's completely changed. None of the original hosts are there, and it's an entirely different format. But we're bringing Good News Week back. And then I think the first week everybody watched it just to see how bad it was. So, hey, we got a good audience. Let's do it again. And the second week, like 11 monkeys watched it, and that was about it. And they went, "Oh, it
the
doesn't
same
work."
thing happened with Spicks and Specs and QI when the main people all had enough. They're like, "Hey, we got these alternate people and stuff." They're like, "No, I don't think so. It's not the same show anymore."
No, it's really not. And it's like they trialled Whose Line Is It Anyway? Obviously huge in the States and huge in Britain. They trialled it in Australia with a completely unknown cast, with nobody who's everybody heard of, and a completely different style of gameplay. You're like, that's not the same show. You've basically taken, Whose Line Is It Anyway, and turned it into, oh, gee, what was that other show that failed? Thank God You're Here.
Yeah.
That's basically what they did.
Yeah.
And it's like, just stop. Look, it's a good show. Don't play with the format. Bring it in the way it is. It'll work. No, can't do that.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Heads Show broadcast weekly. We can be found at facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads, twitter.com/Aussie Tech Heads, and youtube.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Also at patreon.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Sign up for $4 a month or whatever you like. See the site for details. And we got special episodes that nobody watches. So
they're very, 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 very exclusive episodes.
And coffee.com, ko-fi.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Make a one-off donation of any size. Email us Glenn, Will and Warlock at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com. 24/7 back-to-back play of some of the best tech-related shows from around Australia and New Zealand. New shows added each Friday. See you next time.
Bye.